I think film will probably be completely obsolete within the next probably 10 years or so. As much as I respect it, and that's actually what I learned in college. I mean, I learned, light meters, how to read light in that way. So it's given me actually a great education towards, light and how light works and how it reacts in the camera. However, I feel digital creates a much easier workflow for an artist. It allows them to see what they've done right there on the spot and to be able to pass judgments and possibly make something much better as a result. There's a lot of advantages towards digital that have advanced and pretty much made film obsolete. I mean, in the past there have been arguments that film can handle light better and, well, I don't want to get too in-depth in too technical terms, but digital cameras are to the point where they're going to make film cameras obsolete, and I'm completely on board with digital. Well, I guess I kind of have a funny story. I went to school designed for an all-around curriculum that involved math and science and all that. I just decided to take film classes and leave. There was a lot. I'd say most of what I learned I didn't learn in the classroom. But I can't say that that's the best path for everyone else. That's not really for me to judge. Maybe school is the best way, but in my personal experience, I've learned the most by doing, not by reading a book on how to do. And I've also learned one of the best study guides I've ever had is my own television and my own DVD player. I study movies, everything from just how they did the lighting and figure out how they did it based on how the camera's moving, how the lighting is and stuff like that. And I watch movies in a different way that the average person does. So that was probably one of my biggest study guides, and that's what I learned the most. That and just going out and doing it in trial and error, more so than in the classroom. So, I think honestly a lot of it's just raw talent. I mean, like anything, like music, sports, you can teach someone for years, but raw ability is really the essence of how good you're going to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. So. I guess my two biggest pieces of advice would be A, surround yourself with other creators, people who have been there before, see how they do it, and then do it yourself. Other than that, I think the biggest thing is just to do. Don't read about doing, don't talk about doing, just do it. And it doesn't matter if the first one sucks. Then you go back in the editing room, you see why it sucks and how you can make it better. And that's pretty much the process I went through, and to get to the place where I am today, it's trial and error, going out and doing, seeing why it's bad, see why the good things look good, make judgments and assessments based on those two things, and gradually you get better because you start taking more and more things into account. You start picking up little pieces along the way, and then pretty much they just all culminate together and you can create great work. And also, before I speak too soon about going out and doing, obviously you need a foundation to begin on.
Right.
You need to learn the camera, you need to learn the editing system, you need to learn the ins and outs of those, but those are just the basis. People can talk, oh, you need this model camera, you need this model camera, you need this editing system, you need that. Really, to be honest, no one's really that good enough. Like, no one's that good where that's going to be the deciding factor in their body of work and when all things are said and done. So don't worry so much about which model to get and all that. It's more about learning the basics, learning the camera, like aperture, shutter speed, color correction, contrast, all that stuff. Learn the basics, and then from there do your trial and error. Learn the basics of the editing program and go from there, because obviously if you don't have a foundation, you're not going to get very far. So. one of the first that comes to my head, not necessarily my favorite, is M. Night Shyamalan. I always have to have a certain level of respect for the producer, writer, director, just because they take big risks, they have big ideas, and they're innovative and they're ambitious, and I just like that. A lot of his later movies haven't been that great, but I just admire him, I admire his work, and I admire the dedication that he has to filmmaking. Other than that, what director? I mean, I like Tarantino's work because I like how he takes movies in a different direction that aren't what anyone else really does with them. I like his boldness. I like the fact that he's willing to take a risk, whether that be a bad outcome or a good one. I don't think he really cares. So I like the balls that he's got. Oh, and back to another one of my favorite movies. I really like Cloverfield just because it took a whole new take on how to tell a story, and it did something new, and that's something that's hard to come by in this day and age. I haven't seen too much of J.J. Abrams' other work. I haven't seen Star Trek yet. I haven't seen Lost, but I really like Cloverfield. I mean, of course, we can all say Spielberg, but he hasn't really done much lately. So, oh, I like Tony Scott a lot because he's able to. He's another director that chooses great cinematographers, and if you want to see a movie with great visual style, watch a movie directed by Tony Scott because his cinematographers and color correctionists are great. Well, he did Deja Vu. He did Man on Fire. He did G.I. Jane, he did one other one, but you can all tell that they have the same visual style, which I really like and I'm inspired by, and I've had some work inspired by his visual style and how he incorporates that into his stories.